Hello dear students of my class 12th. In my previous video, we studied about the agencies of cross-pollination. We studied about biotic as well as abiotic agencies of cross-pollination. Now, today's our topic is pollen-pistil interaction. Once the pollination is done, how do the pollen and pistil interact with each other to carry out fertilization in angiospermic flower? So here, once the pollination is done, it is the ability of pistil which will recognize whether the right type of pollen is arrived or the not. So such type of mechanisms where pistil helps in identifying the right type of or wrong type of pollen. Such two mechanisms can be called as self-incompatibility or self-compatibility. Here, so once the pollination is done, it does not guarantee that the right type of pollen is arrived on pistil. It will be only identified by pistil because it is having the ability. Once the right type of pollen is arrived over stigma, that particular pistil releases certain chemicals which will stimulate the germination of pollen grains present over stigma. Fine. If any chemical is not released, that means the wrong type of pollen has arrived over stigma. In that case, it is after the identification of the type of pollen, it will be followed by whether pistil will reject that pollen or will accept that pollen. If the pollen is not from the right species, pistil will follow the rejection procedure. Reject that pollen. That means pollen germination will not occur over that particular stigma. Such condition is known as self-incompatibility. That condition is incompatible and the process by which pistil rejects that pollen is known as self-incompatibility. Fine. And the second case where if the right type of pollen is arrived over stigma, in response to that, stigma will release certain chemicals to accept that pollen. That means acceptance का मतलब क्या है? वो pollen grain उस particular position पे it will undergo germination, give rise to the formation of pollen tube, and then male gametes transfer and the formation of zygote may occur. So in such condition is known as self-compatible and the phenomena is known as self-compatibility. Fine. So once, if any kind of plant, if pollination is done, it does not ensure us that the right type of pollen always arrive over the stigma. It will be detected by only the pistil, the female reproductive part of the flower. If it अगर ये पिस्टल आइडेंटिफाई कर पाता है कि वो राइट टाइप का पॉलन है तो ही वो उस पॉलन ग्रेन को एक्सेप्ट करेगा. एक्सेप्ट करेगा मीन्स पॉलन ग्रेन के रिस्पॉन्स में कुछ केमिकल्स रिलीज करेगा जिसके हेल्प से पॉलन ग्रेन उसको डिटेक्ट करने के बाद जर्मिनेशन शो करेगा, पॉलन ग्रेन ट्यूब की फॉर्मेशन होगी एंड देन मेल गैमीट्स ट्रांसफर होंगे. द एज सेम मेल गैमीट्स रिलीज होने का मेन मकसद क्या है? दे विल फर्टिलाइज द फीमेल गैमीट and result in the formation of zygote in plant. Fine. So what is this pollen pistil interaction? It is actually the chemical dialogue between pistil and pollen to identifying the right type of pollen which is received over stigma to follow its germination. Fine. So this is about the introduction of pollen pistil interaction. In my next video, I will tell you about from where do the pollen tube enters after germination. Thank you.